17 women were offered to the north, but only one arrived with her mouth chained shut. The Covenant platform hung over the ravine like a verdict, alloy bolted into ancient ice, torch drones flickering in a wind that felt alive. 17 women stood in a line, pulled from distant city-states and border clans, lives deemed cheap enough to buy the South another season of peace. At the end stood Soren Val. Blue-skinned, tall, sharp-shouldered, with large curved horns sweeping back from her temples like black crescents. People didn't look at her the way they looked at the others. They looked like they were deciding whether she was human. A Vox-Shackle cinched from her nose to chin, filament-straps biting her cheeks. It wasn't a gag for screams. It was a punishment for words. "Why is she muzzled?" a girl whispered. A guard's visor turned. "Order from Chancellor Dreven. That one's a Cipher-Tongue. She speaks, you die." Soren stared into the storm. Beyond it waited Cryostead, the sealed northern dominion the south fed with tribute so it wouldn't feed on them. Her father stood under heat lamps with the delegation, wrapped in luxury furs. Beside him, her half-sister Melis clung to his arm, face pale with cold and guilt. The tribute marshal raised his staff. "We uphold the Covenant. 17 lives, sanctioned and delivered." The torch flames bowed at once, no wind, just pressure. The temperature dropped fast enough to sting her lungs. Soren felt ice catch on her lashes. Then the storm split. A man walked out of the whiteout with no hurry. Riven Halser, Warden of Cryostead. Not a monster, not a crowned demon, just a normal man in a dark coat, face bare to the cold, eyes gray and exhausted in a way that felt older than time. He stepped onto the platform. His gaze skimmed the line like inspection. Dismissal. 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 Then he saw Soren's shackle. He stopped. "Why is she bound?" Dreven answered too quickly. "She's defective. Dangerous. A criminal. I sent her with warnings." Riven didn't look at him. "I wasn't asking you." Soren's breath scraped behind the filament. She should have stayed silent. The shackle warmed, anticipating disobedience. But the truth slammed into her chest, a buried root call, a signature under his public name, roaring to be spoken. She leaned forward and forced the word through the muzzle. "Asternal." Pain flashed white. Her knees buckled, she locked them. The platform went dead still. Riven froze as if struck. Then he stepped closer, eyes locked on hers. "Where did you learn that?" he rasped. "I don't learn," Soren forced out. "I hear." Riven looked at the burns forming beneath the shackle, jaw tightening. Then he straightened and spoke to the platform like a command to the world. "I'm taking this one." The marshal stammered about protocol. Dreven shouted, "She'll kill you." Riven's mouth twitched, cold amusement. "If she wanted me dead, I'd be dead already." He lifted Soren with efficient steadiness, one arm under her knees, the other at her back. "You spoke my buried name," he said softly. "Do you understand what that costs?" Soren's vision blurred. "No. Neither do I." He carried her into the storm. "But we're going to find out." Soren woke to warmth so wrong she thought it was death. Fire crackled nearby. Heat pressed into her skin. She sat up and grabbed her face. No Vox-Shackle. Her throat felt tender but healed, as if someone had repaired the damage instead of letting it scar. The chamber was carved from black composite stone, wide and high, lined with pale pelts and humming thermal panels. Frost patterns crawled across the walls like living circuitry, blooming and fading. "You're awake," Riven said. He stood by a narrow window, silhouetted against gray stormlight. Up close he looked even less like a legend. Tired eyes, too lean frame, a man who slept in fragments and called it living. "How long?" she asked. 2 days. The shackle's feedback nearly cooked your throat. You removed it. I did. Why? Riven turned, gaze steady. Because I want answers. No one speaks that root call. Not in centuries. Not since the purge. Soren's fingers twisted the furs. Names arrive. I don't chase them. Cipher-Tongue, he murmured. I thought your kind were extinct. Nearly. His eyes flicked to her horns, then back to her face, cautious, like he understood what it meant to be feared on sight. When did it start? He asked. When my father realized. Soren swallowed. He coded the shackle. Told the council I was cursed. That I killed someone with my voice. A pause. Did you? Riven asked. Soren's jaw tightened. I spoke a man's hidden signature while he was strangling a child. He collapsed. Dead before he hit the floor. Riven didn't flinch. And your father used that as proof. Yes. He said I was shame. That I reminded him of my mother. Riven's voice lowered. He sent you to the platform to die. Soren met his eyes. Yes. Riven inhaled, then spoke with treaty-clean precision. I'm making you an offer. You may refuse. If you refuse, I return you to the platform. Soren's stomach clenched. What offer? Stay, he said. As my consort in name. Publicly. Soren let out a short, humorless breath. A political ornament. A shield, Riven corrected. For you. And for me. I study your gift. You remain alive. You speak freely. What's the price? She asked. His jaw flexed once. You never speak my buried name again. Not to anyone. Why? Because names are leverage, he said quietly. And mine in the wrong mouth could undo me. Soren absorbed that. Then she said, if I agree, will you touch me? Riven's eyes held hers. Not without permission. You'll have your own rooms. I don't want a wife. What do you want? She asked. His mouth tightened. Truth. Cold safety. Structured distance. After a lifetime of punishment, cold sounded like mercy. Soren extended her hand. Then I accept. Riven hesitated, then took it. His skin was cold, too cold. But beneath it she felt something faint, buried, refusing extinction. He released her quickly. Rest. Tomorrow we begin. When he left, Soren stared at her hand, still tingling. She'd chosen the north. Now she had to survive it. 3 days later, Cryostead's great hall filled with visitors who pretended they weren't terrified. They came to witness the impossible, the warden binding himself to a southern woman. Cameras hovered like metallic insects, thirsty for proof. Soren stood on the dais in silver thermals, horns polished, blue skin exposed on purpose. If she looked like an outcast, she'd look like one without apology. The whispers hit her anyway. She bewitched him. He'll break her within a month. That one looks like a devil. Riven stood beside her in formal black, hands clenched at his sides. Frost patterns flickered along his cuffs, then retreated as if obeying his control. He looked calm. Soren felt the tension radiating off him like a field. The officiant began. By ancient covenant and modern statute. Movement rippled through the crowd. Chancellor Dreven entered under a cloak of confidence. Melis walked beside him, pale and shaking, eyes refusing to meet Soren's. Soren's throat tightened. Riven noticed. His gaze cut toward Dreven, sharp and still. The terms must be spoken, the officiant intoned. Riven stepped forward. Soren Val will be consort in name. She carries my protection and Cryostead's authority. In exchange, she offers loyalty for the duration of the arrangement. Murmurs. It wasn't romantic enough for their appetite. Not submissive enough for their comfort. Driven raised his voice. Formal protest. That woman is a tongue-bound criminal. Riven turned slowly. Noted. Denied. You don't understand what you're binding yourself to, Driven pressed. If you let her speak freely, she could kill me. Riven cut in. His mouth twitched with cold amusement. She already knows my buried name. If she wanted me dead, I wouldn't be standing here. The color drained from Driven's face. The hall went so silent Soren heard the drones humming. Riven descended one step, voice carrying without effort. I'm curious, Chancellor. Why are you so desperate to silence her? What truth are you afraid she'll expose? Driven faltered. For 1 second his mask cracked, and Soren saw panic underneath. Riven faced the crowd. Her past is erased. Her crimes are pardoned. Any insult to her is an insult to me. He offered his hand. Soren took it, and the hall felt the shift, like a door locking. Under her breath she said, "You didn't have to do that." "I know," Riven said quietly. "Then why?" His eyes flickered, raw for a heartbeat. "Because I know what it's like to have family sign your death warrant." The officiant finished the rites. Applause followed, hollow, forced. People wanted a fairy tale. What they got was a warning. And Soren realized something dangerous. Riven wasn't protecting her because she was useful. He was protecting her because he understood her. After the ceremony, congratulations came like snow, cold, inevitable, and meant to cover what was ugly. Soren endured them until her jaw ached from forced composure. Riven stayed close enough to be a threat, distant enough to keep his own control. When the crowd thinned, Melis caught Soren's elbow and pulled her behind an ice pillar. "You have to leave," Melis blurted. Soren's eyes hardened. "He can't touch me here." "That's what you think." Melis's voice shook. "Father isn't done. He's waiting for the warden to learn what you really are. He knows I'm a Cipher-Tongue," Soren snapped. Melis swallowed. "Not that." Soren went still. "The other thing," Melis whispered. "The thing he never told you about Mother." Soren's pulse stumbled. Their mother's death had always been a story with gaps, carefully edited, carefully clean. "What thing?" Soren asked. Melis's face twisted between pity and fear. "You don't only reveal signatures. You can rewrite them." "No," Soren's mouth went dry. "I can't." "You can," Melis insisted. "That's why he muzzled you. Not because you were dangerous, because you were the cure to things he profits from." Soren's stomach turned. "Profits from what?" Melis glanced over her shoulder like the walls might listen. "I saw letters. Payments. Men who came at night. Father sold Mother's death. He sold you. He sold the North's suffering." Soren's breath caught. "The North?" Melis nodded, tears bright. "Cryostead's condition, the reason Riven is feared, the reason the Covenant exists, Father is tied to it. He's been paid to keep it going." Across the hall, Riven's gaze found Soren through the remaining guests. He didn't summon her. He didn't demand. He just watched, as if he could sense the shape of danger around her. Melis leaned closer, whisper razor thin. "When he learns what you truly are, he won't just send you away." Soren's voice went quiet. "What will he do?" Melis's eyes shimmered. "He'll consume you. Not like a beast. Like a man desperate to survive." She released Soren and slipped back into the crowd, swallowed by diplomacy. Soren stood frozen, horns casting curved shadows on the floor. Her father's eyes had always held disgust when he looked at her. Now she wondered if it had never been disgust at all. Maybe it had been fear. She looked back toward Riven. He was feared by kingdoms, called monster by cowards. But Melissa's warning made something click inside Soren like a lock turning. Whatever was killing him, whatever made Cryostead require tribute. Her father had helped build it. And Soren had been muzzled not to protect others. She'd been muzzled to keep her from saving anyone. Ancient statute demanded a physical seal of the bond, something to satisfy old laws and modern cameras. Not a full claiming, Riven had made that clear. A formality, he'd called it, voice flat. But as Soren followed him to his private quarters, she couldn't imagine anything involving Riven Hauser being simple. His rooms were colder than the rest of the fortress despite the heat panels. A massive bed sat draped in pale pelts, untouched like an altar. The polar windows showed the storm moving like a living wall. Riven didn't face her at first. His shoulders were tight, as if the air itself cut him. "There's something you should know," he said. Soren waited. "I require complete darkness," Riven continued. "No light. None." "Why?" she asked. He exhaled. "Because when I lose control, my condition becomes visible. I'd prefer you not see it." Soren considered him, this normal man wearing a myth-like armor, this warden who refused to be pitted. "I understand," she said. Riven turned, surprise flickering. "You're not going to demand an explanation." "You didn't demand mine," she said simply. For a beat, the tension softened, just slightly. Like a muscle unclenching. Servants extinguished the fire and left. Darkness fell thick and intimate. Riven's voice came close. "Are you certain? This doesn't have to be more than a formality." Soren's breath caught. "Is that what you want?" Silence, charged, cinematic. "What I want hasn't mattered in a long time," Riven said. His hands found her shoulders. His skin was cold, too cold, like a body running wrong. Soren's muscles tensed on reflex. Touch meant control. Touch meant claim. Riven paused instantly. "Tell me to stop," he said, rough. Soren swallowed. "Don't." His fingers moved slowly, asking with every motion. When her gown slid away, his breath hitched, and she felt the smallest tremor in his hands, like restraint barely holding. "You're warm," he murmured. "I forgot warmth could feel like this." Soren reached for him, palms finding his chest through his shirt. Cold seeped into her skin, but beneath it she felt something faint, an ember refusing extinction. "It's still in you," she whispered. Riven's breath broke. "It shouldn't be." She kissed him first, because she refused to let fear write her story again. The kiss was cold at the start, then softened, deepened, control cracking into need. Their bodies met like opposites forced into collision. It wasn't tender in the gentle way stories promised. It was dark, intense, hungry, two people testing whether they could survive intimacy without it becoming a weapon. Afterward, Riven lay behind her, arm around her waist, his breathing uneven. "Stay," Soren whispered. A long pause. "Just until dawn," he said. It wasn't romance. It was worse. It was hope. Riven studied Soren's gift like it was the only honest thing left in the world. He brought data slabs, burnt archive fragments, forbidden histories of Cipher-Tongues. He asked questions and waited for answers without punishing her for hesitation. "You don't command with signatures," he said one night, eyes on a hollow text. "You illuminate. You expose what's buried." "Then why did that man die?" Soren asked. The old guilt still lived in her bones. Riven's gaze lifted. "What was he doing when you spoke?" "Strangling a child." "And what did you feel?" Soren's fists clenched. "Rage. I wanted justice. Riven nodded slowly. Truth binds itself to consequence when emotion is extreme. If his identity was built on violence, your voice didn't kill him. His eyes sharpened. His own truth collapsed him. Relief hit her so hard she had to breathe through it. Years of shame cracked. That night, when Riven came to her chamber, there was a new carefulness in his touch. He still demanded darkness. He still left before full morning. But he stayed longer each time, and he spoke more. Not about love. Never love. About dying. One evening she found him hunched over half-frozen documents, lips blue, hands trembling. "Riven," she said, voice tight. "You're getting worse." They didn't deny it. It's been happening for a long time. He took her hands, his grip felt weaker than it should. "My condition is degenerative. The cold moves inward. Eventually it reaches my heart." Soren's stomach hollowed. "You're dying." "Yes." The word landed like a gunshot. "I accepted it," Riven said quietly. "I wanted answers before the end. You were unexpected." "If you want me to leave," Soren said, testing him, "say it." Riven's jaw flexed. "If you stay, you'll watch it happen." Soren stepped closer, eyes fierce. "Then I'll watch. And I'll fight." Riven's voice went rough. "Don't make me hope." Soren grabbed his coat and kissed him like a threat. "Then hope." For a second he broke, his restraint, his mask. He pressed his forehead to hers, breathing hard like he'd been starving for years. "You don't understand," he whispered. "Hope changes things." "Good," Soren said. "Let it." Outside, the storm kept moving. Inside, something more dangerous than fear began to grow. 2 months later, a healer confirmed it with quiet eyes and softer hands. "You're carrying," she said. Soren sat alone afterward, palm pressed to her stomach, horns casting curved shadows across the floor. A child. Their child. A future that refused to fit inside Riven's end. That evening she found him at the windows, staring into the storm as if he could negotiate with it. Frost patterns crept higher along his throat now, mapping him like a slow invasion. "I need to tell you something," Soren said. Riven turned. His eyes were tired, but sharp. "What is it?" Soren took his hands. "I'm pregnant." Riven froze. Then he dropped to his knees as if his legs forgot their purpose. His hands hovered near her stomach until she nodded. When he touched her, his breath shook. "A child," he whispered. "Our child." Soren swallowed. "I know it wasn't part of the arrangement. I didn't let myself plan," Riven said, voice breaking. "I wanted this more than I've wanted anything in centuries." He pressed his forehead to her stomach, a gesture so intimate it hurt. "You'll have someone after I'm." "Don't," Soren snapped, hauling him up. "We're finding a way." Riven stared at her like she'd spoken a language he'd forgotten existed. "Soren, the condition isn't just cold." "I don't care," she said. "I'm not letting it take you." His hands cupped her face, trembling. "Say nothing reckless." Soren refused obedience. "I love you." The words hit the room like a detonation. Riven's eyes went wide with terror, real terror. "Stop. If I let myself feel this," his voice cracked. "Then feel it," Soren said, fierce. "Don't die starved." Riven convulsed. The frost patterns erupted across his chest beneath his shirt, racing fast, uncontrolled. His breath hitched, his eyes went bright and unfocused. "Riven." Soren caught him. He clutched his chest. "It's the trigger," he gasped. "Love accelerates it. It ensures I can never." His words broke into a choking breath. "I wasn't supposed to fall in love." He collapsed. Soren held him as his skin went colder, colder. His lips moved once, barely. She leaned close enough to feel his last warmth. Root call, he whispered. My buried name, that's the key. Speak it. Then his body went terrifyingly still. Soren screamed into the darkness, and the storm outside answered like a god laughing. Riven's body radiated cold like a dead star. Soren clutched him, tears crystallizing on his throat. Servants rushed in, panicked, useless. Healers hovered with tools that meant nothing against a condition coded into the soul. No, Soren hissed. Get out. All of you. A voice from the doorway cut through the chaos. Correct. An old woman stood there wrapped in layered furs and tech cloth, eyes sharp as broken glass. Ira Voss. Who are you? Soren demanded. The last threadsmith who served Cryostead before the purge, Ira said, stepping closer. And I've been waiting for someone like you. I'm a Cipher-Tongue, Soren snapped. Ira's mouth tightened. That's the lie your father sold you. Cipher-Tongue's reveal. Threadsmith's rewrite. Soren's blood chilled. My mother was the strongest threadsmith born in 5 centuries, Ira said softly. I trained her. Your father had her killed when he learned what she truly was. Soren's vision tunneled. Why? Because he was paid, Ira said, eyes hard. There are factions who profit from Cryostead remaining broken. From the Covenant continuing. From Riven remaining trapped. Soren looked down at Riven, normal man, turned into myth by politics, dying because he dared to feel. How do I save him? She asked. Speak his buried name again, Ira said. But weave it. Find the condition thread wrapped around it and cut. I can't, Soren whispered. My power is sealed. Then break the seal, Ira said. Your father keeps the anchor close, an object keyed to your voice. How long does he have? Ira's face tightened. Days. Maybe less. The condition feeds on love. Soren's heart shattered and rebuilt into something sharp. Watch him, she said. Keep him breathing. Ira nodded once. Soren rose, horns cutting a silhouette like war. I'm going to collect my voice, she said. And then, Ira replied, you're going to rewrite a kingdom. The southern estate felt obscene, warm lights, soft carpets, air that didn't bite. Chancellor Dreven sat in his study with wine and papers, comfortable in the belief that distance made him untouchable. Soren walked in with Cryostead guards behind her. Blue skin unhidden. Horns unbowed. Dreven smiled like he was greeting property. Daughter. You lasted longer than expected. Soren's voice was calm. Where is the seal anchor? His smile sharpened. So you learned. You killed my mother, Soren said. I had her killed, he corrected, bored. She was inconvenient. Threatened to take you and train you properly. Soren stepped closer. Because someone paid you. For the first time, fear flickered in his eyes. Who told you? It doesn't matter, Soren said. Riven is dying. And I'm carrying his child. If he dies, Cryostead becomes mine by statute. I inherit his fleets. My first act will be to audit every private transaction you've ever made and drag your patrons into the light. Dreven's hand tightened around his glass. Soren smiled, sharp. If you give me the seal now, I might show mercy. Silence. A shaky voice from the doorway. He won't tell you. Meili stepped in, face blotched from crying, eyes fierce. But I will. I saw the letters. The visitors. The payments. Dreven's voice snapped. Meilise. You sold us, she whispered. Meilise crossed to a family portrait and slid it aside. A hidden vault sat embedded behind it. Driven through the key like a curse. Inside was a carved box. When Soren opened it, she felt it instantly, her voice, chained inside a rune disc etched with writhing code. She closed her fingers around it. Power tugged back like an animal on a leash. Soren turned to the guards. Arrest him. Conspiracy. Murder. Treason. Driven laughed, thin. Treason. I'm not Cryostead's subject. You are now, Soren said coldly. The moment you sold your daughter to the north. She looked at Melis. Thank you. Melis's tears fell at last. I'm sorry. Soren didn't soften. She couldn't afford softness. Not with time bleeding out. She left the estate with the rune disc burning against her palm like a promise, and rode north into the storm. When Soren returned to Cryostead, the bond thread between her and Riven felt like a whisper stretched across a void. Ira met her at the chamber door, face grim. You're almost too late, Ira said. His heart is barely beating. Soren pushed inside. Riven lay encased in ice, a statue made from the man she loved. His lashes were frosted. His lips were pale. The air around him felt dead. Tell me, Soren said, voice shaking. Now. Ira pointed to the rune disc. Break the seal. It will hurt. Soren didn't hesitate. She gripped the disc and pulled as if she could tear betrayal out of the universe. Pain erupted, like ripping a piece of her soul free. She screamed, horns trembling, vision sparking. The disc cracked with a sound like glass giving up. Power flooded in. Names, no, threads, everywhere. The world woven from signatures and lies. Soren climbed onto the bed and pressed her hands to Riven's chest. She closed her eyes and found his buried root call, Asterno, wrapped in a predatory condition thread. Love equals death. Attachment equals collapse. Soren breathed in, steadying. Then she spoke, clear, unmuzzled, absolute. Asterno. I see you. Not the myth. Not the weapon they shaped. The thread fought back, trying to freeze her voice. Soren pushed harder. I weave you free. I unbind your root call from their condition. Love will not be your trigger. She felt the knot, ancient, cruel, snap. Light poured through the room, warm and gold. The ice cracked, shattered, melted into steam. Riven gasped. His eyes opened, clear gray, alive. Soren, he rasped. She collapsed onto him, sobbing. His arms came around her, warm. Ira exhaled, tears tracking down her face. It's done. Not just for him. For his line. Your child will be born free. 6 months later, the great hall held a different crowd, less spectacle, more awe. Soren stood with a newborn tucked against her chest, horns proud, blue skin glowing in honest heat. Riven leaned close, voice unsteady. She spoke today. Soren smiled. Threadsmith blood. Words come early. What did she say? Soren looked up at him, the man who tore off her muzzle and gave her breath back. Papa. Riven's eyes filled. He pulled them both in, holding wife and daughter against a heart that had once been coded to stop. Soren pressed her lips to his jaw. They built you to die alone. Riven kissed her hair. Until you spoke my buried name, and taught me how to live.